calling this one Boom because I just can't get rapid unscheduled disassembly on the title card. Hello there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker and Residential Sales Manager for ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 116. I'm a little slow today. I'm a little slow because up early this morning watching SpaceX and their rapid, unplanned, unscheduled demolition of their spaceship. And sort of hoping it was going to get farther than it did, but it was fun to watch. If you ever watch those live feeds of these things, they're getting better with this supporting graphics. So as you're watching the rocket take off and stuff, there's this little counter down on the side, and you can see how many engines are still functioning. And it's like the first time they put that thing up, they were already down 3 engines, and you just watch those little engines drop off one at a time. Sort of like my last forks to give over the course of a week, and you just start spiraling out. But it's considered a successful launch because they got as far as they wanted to, which was, let's see if we can get this thing to clear the pad. And after that point, everything else is gravy. But that, unfortunately, because they decided they want to launch everything Eastern time, and they had like a 1-hour window, that meant that over here in Arizona, and we're currently on Pacific time, Pacific time is currently on Arizona, we had to get up early and drink some coffee and fight with YouTube connections and everything to get the best stream and everything to watch the Boom. So yeah, it was a good time. And this is comes a really interesting sort of theme of this week that I'm going to cover on the back end. But we had a lot of news to talk about. One of my favorite companies to chortle over, that's not Zillow, Opendoor, announced this week that they're laid off 22% of their staff. They're still trying to recover from that correction that we had last year in home prices. They still kept buying even as the market was falling down, and they got themselves in a little bit of a hole. Now, about a week or two ago, I was reporting how that they've already calculated this whole thing in, and they've calculated the loss, but apparently to really make money this quarter and to recover, maybe they were doing that in response to what they knew the numbers were going to be when they released first quarter numbers. They decided to 1 out of 5, which is actually worse than decimation. That's like what? Pessimation? Pentimation? Okay, my Latin sucks. So anyway, yeah, that's what happened with them, and that was the first thing that hit the news this week. Other things that we had coming out is various reports started dropping, and nationally, the national market is down 3% from last year, which means that every news agency is going to announce the news as in biggest house drop in over a decade, which is another way of saying any house drop over a decade, because we had been continually rising since. And this was our first correction that we've seen basically since about 2014 or so, So we were due, and it wasn't that bad. 3% is a rounding error when you start talking about some of these numbers. Now remember, this is also nationally. All right, national means that they're covering a whole bunch of other markets that got hurt worse than Phoenix, and a whole bunch of markets that didn't get hurt at all. We did, drop down, but we've been working our way back for quite some time now. We covered all those numbers last episode, so I won't go too far into detail on that. Other thing, and if you want to say, hey, Ray, what keeps you up at night besides Carrington events? We had a news thing come out, and like a lot of stuff, this comes out to the lenders first, and then we talk about, it gets disseminated through the ecosystem, that starting May 1st, all right, this is from one of my lenders I get emails from, that's because she sent this to me, even though I had talked to Jeff Corin about this earlier. I'm going to call Sue Leachman out at SueHomeLoans.com, and you can reach her at 480-797-6000. Tell her Ray Dawson from ProStar sent you. She sends out this email to us, and it goes, starting May 1st, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will offer discounted rates for home buyers with riskier credit at the cost of those with good credit. This is an editorial, by the way. I should have called that out. Home buyers with credit scores of 680 and below will see, or and above, 680 and above will see a spike in their mortgage costs and rates, with these clients putting 15 to 20% down, experiencing the highest increase. All right. And what they're doing on that is they want to use the money generated from lower risk loans, the people you want to lend money to. We're going to charge them more so we can use that money to help people with lower risk or lower credit scores, higher risk loans, and make them more able to buy houses. So it's going to take me a little while to figure out the thinking behind this thing. This almost really sounds like the kind of business plan, the kind of business model, the kind of idea that comes out of a government bureaucrat who's never actually worked in an industry before and suddenly gets handed a new toy because their administration is in charge. And they go, hey, we want to make home ownership cheaper, and we want more people to be homeowners. All right. Better for the community, it's better for the economy, it's better for society as a whole if more people have the roots sunk into the earth because they own a home to raise kids in or not raise kids in, to develop their life from. All right, this is something we'll pretty much support, except for some cranks over on those other YouTube channels who just really think you should put all that money into Bitcoin and gold. All right. And a couple dude bros out there is like, hey man, you should never own. I mean, if you own a house, you're going to be settled down. You want to be foot-looking and fancy free like I am after my third divorce. Yeah, I'm living life large now. Those guys and a couple dude bros that couldn't get girls in the first place. We're always talking about how great it is to just rent for the rest of your life. Yeah, screw you guys. But in this particular case, in this particular scenario, the idea is that we want more people to have houses. There are people out there with really great credit scores who scrimp and save and do what they need to save up enough money to purchase a house. And God damn it, they're just getting all my houses. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make it more expensive for them to buy houses and make it cheaper for people with lousy credit scores who can't save up that kind of money. So it will cost them less. All right. So this brings back the specter of the crash of '08, because this is one of the primary contributing yet unreported causes of that crash. Is the government went to the banks and told them, you need to start writing loans, subprime loans. Remember the word, boys and girls, subprime? Yeah. So let's start writing subprime loans for people who are not normally a safe risk to give money to. And when an economy comes down, these people aren't going to have the cash reserves or the wherewithal or anything else to make a couple payments before they find the next job. And so when they start losing their houses, snowball effect, next thing you know, we have congressional committee hearings on these things. And a couple people did call that out, but Congress is really, okay, no, let's talk banks. Let's talk about the evil banks. Why? Because it was Congress's idea a couple years prior to that to start doing that. All right. Congress, of everybody who's good at passing buck, Congress is really good at coming up with really stupid laws. And they're saying it wasn't our fault, it's these guys over here. So anyway, so it looks like they're going back to the well, and we'll stand by to see how that works out. Remember, it wasn't the downstream impacts of those congressional decisions that they made did not come out for like 8 years, 10 years or so. I know it happened in like the later part of the Clinton administration. Originally came up with that idea. Let's start forcing banks to write subprime mortgages. That the banks then took and bundled in other packages and lied about the quality of those things. Because if they had actually said that, yeah, this is a junk loan, here, buy junk, we wouldn't have been hit as hard. So nobody's getting out of this one, scot-free. Okay, everybody's got a little bit of, sin to take in this thing. But they're doing it again. They just found out with another methodology. It's like that. Let's try to get to this point where we're going to just basically make it more expensive for you to buy a home. And in this particular case, it's going to be more expensive for you to buy a home if you did everything that society has been telling you to. Get a good credit score, pay your bills, save your money. All right. Those things, now screw you. We're going to punish you for doing what we told you to. All right. Editorial aside, this one's going to be a lot of fun to see how this one plays out. But May 1st, here it comes. So if you're somebody in that category and stuff like that, where you have a 680 or lower credit score, that you don't have enough money to buy a house, there are lenders out there who will be happy to work with you now. Give them a call. Maybe even Sue. I haven't talked to her about this directly, right? There are a lot of good first-time home buyers, but I would strongly encourage you, all right, if you don't have the ability, okay, either financial ability, mental fortitude ability, the ability to defer immediate gratification for a long-term goal. Remember the marshmallow test from school, guys, right? If you're the kind of kid who just grabbed the marshmallow and stuffed it right in your mouth, right? We got a house for you, okay? We have first-time home buyer programs, okay? And they're great programs, all right? They really will help you out, all right? But remember, it is Ray's, not ProStar's, not Department of Real Estate, not the National Association of Realtors, anybody else like that. Just Ray's personal opinion that if you cannot save up 3.5% to buy a house with an FHA loan, and maybe 0.5% on top of that, to cover your closing costs and your home inspections and your appraisals and all that other good stuff. If you don't have that ability to do that, you shouldn't buy a house for when the hot water heater blows out, and it will blow out, or the furnace goes down, or the roof gets old, or whatever. If you can't save that up, you're going to be screwed, technical term, all right, when that eventually happens, that house that you just bought, all right? So go get yourself some Dave Ramsey, even though I'm not a big fan of his real estate side, but, Dave Ramsey, find some way to help, start changing behavior, to, income, whatever it is going to be to get to the point where you're at that, where you can do stuff like that. Because that affects my numbers, all right? And I have numbers for you, right? Because we're actually looking pretty good so far. This is numbers run from April 19th, 2023. Coming soon, well, let's just start with the actives. Our actives are 12,854. That is down 343, continuing our slide down. All right. Our new listings were at 1,979, up 223. That's a good surge. Contracts are 2,892, up 292, which is contracts moving up. That's a little unsuspected right now. And our closings were at 1,700. Our comfort report numbers for the seller side is that our sellers are at 58.2, and our buyer side, or our demand, is at 82.1, leaving us with a comfort report score of 140.9. And we are definitely still moving along. Here's the comfort report breakdown in individual cities and whatnot. And on this, we are greens across the board, people. Haven't seen that for a while. Remember, these numbers are over month. Chandler leading the pack at 233.8. Sucks to be a buyer in that market. That's up 13% from this time last month. I think, what was it? Paradise Valley was our one that was still showing red there for a time. Even they're trending up 3% over month. Our market is seller side across the board. We don't have any balanced market, all right, but we still have Queen Creek, Maricopa, and Buckeye down there in the the buyer side of the market and stuff. And that's primarily because of the new builds out there that the sellers are directly contributing or competing against, all right? But like I said, across the board, who grew the most month over month, all right? It actually looks like it's Maricopa. People are starting to look down south and realizing, you can get decent houses over there. There's a lot of times I will be dealing with a buyer and they need a type of house. They need a certain square footage. And I talk to them. I find that everybody works from home. All right. Then you point them at Maricopa and they say, well, what happens if I want to go into the big city? Next question is, how often do you go into the big city? Oh, I want to be downtown so I can go to a Diamondbacks game. When was the last time you did that? All right. Start asking yourself these questions. Oh, I want to live close to the airports for when I travel. How often do you travel? If you haven't traveled in the entire year, there's no reason to live next to the airport. Think about it. All right. So that's what we got going on with that. Good numbers. Another number that came out in the Croft report that I wanted to show you, just show you where we're at. These are the listings under contract, right, for the last 3 years. This big number that we have at the top, this purple line that you're seeing, that is 2021, all right? These are listings, houses that have been put for sale and currently have a contract on them, either as, contracted with a buyer contingency, under contract looking for backups, or just plain on pending. All right. And this 2021, that was a real serious post-COVID frenzy that we had seen there. And you could see that we were pushing, what's that number right there? It looks like 12,500. This line right down here being 12, this line up here being 13. Okay, so yeah, 13,000, 12,000, right around in there. And we dipped down a little bit of seasonality because everything always slows down in the summertime. And then we came off that and we went into last year, right, where we were trending up, this normal spring trend up. All right, that's what we call seasonality, boys and girls. The normal seasonality surge, right, which sustained out a lot longer than we were expecting to. All right. Because of the COVID making all of our numbers wonky. And then here's where we start looking at that market turn down. Remember, I always say is that last week of March that we saw where things started going squampus, and there it is right there. Boom. Even then, it's not too much of a concern because we're used to that being our peak. And we're used to things trending down. Maybe not that fast. Okay, and we're definitely not used to it continuing to slide because usually we get a little bump here. So it came down faster and we didn't get our bump. This, from here to here, that is the contracts that weren't happening that contributed to our crash, really a correction. All right, and that's what happened there. Now we're coming into this year and what we've been seeing. And here's our spring run up, and where we've normally plateaued, now we're plateauing. And then what the hell is this? We're going up again. Right? This is the recovery of the interest rates that we're seeing. When you see this happen, just understand there's pent-up demand happening here. This is that normal little run-up. This, and anything that we see sustaining through this, is that pent-off demand getting burned off. Right? That's fun. Right, that's interesting. I was talking to Jeff Korn, our in-house lender and everything like that, and real serious conversation about if we get down into the fives, and we're still looking at getting down to the fives sometimes this year, all of this gappage that you see right here is suddenly going to blow out. Right? It's going to make for a really, really happening time when it happens. All right? A lot of lenders have gotten out of the industry. A lot of real estate agents have gotten out of the industry. God bless you guys. I would like cheese on that. All right. But for everything else that we see kick off here, all right, for the survivors and stuff, that this is forming up to where it might be a really good little run for real estate agents, for lenders, for escrow, all of us with our jobs that have it wrapped up in real estate. And it will go for a bit, and then we'll die off. You need to start anticipating things and seeing where they're going to happen. You can't. The magic 8 ball is not always correct, all right? But you can predict things, right? This is what we're looking at, all right? So we might be whistling past the graveyard. All right. If for some reason the dollar loses its status and stuff, we could drop off the face of the earth. When I see Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac doing stuff like this, yeah, then I really start wondering whether or not we're going to kill the dollar by the end of the year. So that's that. The main topic I want to cover, and this is my recurring theme of the week, is booms. All right, that rapid, unscheduled disassembly that we just saw this morning, and testing. And this is when you do something, and this is mostly for the real estate agents out there, but this will help you and your other people in your life and stuff like this. So pay attention. Let me think. Brian, pay attention to this part. Sherry, kick Brian. Make sure he's in the room. Pause it if you have to. Bring him in. All right. When you are starting to market a product, right? When you are going out there, you can spend your marketing money anywhere. Any marketing person you talk to will encourage you to spend your money on their product. Right? The people who called me up right before COVID and asked if I wanted to have my face at the sanitization station at Fry's thought that was the greatest place in the money to, place in the world to spend money at. You could see me and I'd be sitting there and it's like, clean house, clean hands, use our hand sanitizer. I literally got that call like 2 months before COVID broke out. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. Let me tell you what. Would have been interesting in the alternate world. What happened with Ray when he did that? Because that was like the one thing in the grocery store for the next year and a half everybody was going to. And you would have been seeing my smiley face. But, everybody's going to come up with these ways and ideas and places to spend money. All right. There is only so much advertising budget to have. And there's only so much research budget to have if you're researching things. So, in the tech industry and in advertising and a lot of things, they do something that's called A/B testing. Right? And A/B testing says we're going to come up with 2 distinct different advertising campaigns. Right? Let me see if I can come up here. All right. Just grabbing random pieces of paper on my desk. Advertising campaign 1, advertising campaign 2. All right. This one's got pretty pictures of people and houses. This one's got charts and graphs. All right. So I want to know which one of these 2 ads are going to work best. All right. So what we do is we run them both concurrently at the same time. All right. And then see which one does better. A/B testing. All right. We realize, all right, that in a certain subset, people like this one better. We're going to drop this one. All right. If we discover people like pretty kitchens, we go with pretty kitchen ads. And that's way you're not spending money on a product for an advertising campaign too long. All right. And doing it too long and you just wasted your advertising budget and never got anywhere. All right. You learn more from your failures sometimes. All right? And I use this example, and strangely enough, it doesn't have to do with Elon Musk. Once upon a time when I was a young lad running wild in the streets of Salt Lake City, there was a guy who had started a virtual reality game station at Trolley Square Mall. He got himself a little kiosk, right? Quit his job, started this kiosk. He had 4 PCs that were all linked together with a network hub. I know what you're thinking. Why would you even bother to link it up? Well, back then we didn't have Wi-Fi, all right? I remember back in the day we had to actually physically connect computers together with Cat 5 wires, and if you wanted more than one, you had to use this thing called a hub. All right, so anyway, he put up 4 machines, loaded 3 different types of games on them, bought a license for each machine, and they bought 4 VR goggles. And you put your little VR goggles on, and you take your little controller, and you could play MechWarrior or Delta Force. I can't remember what the other game was. Rise of the Triad. I remember that. And people would sit there and play VR Rise of the Triad. This was, look at this. Right? This was 98, 99. This guy came up with this idea, and he implemented it. Geez, dude, winning. All right? He made 2 major mistakes. All right? And the major mistake we're particularly interested in today is he had an advertising campaign. Smart that he calculated in an advertising campaign. Really, really dumb is that he did not know what his market truly was because he didn't look at his customer base. His customer base were pimply faces, 15 to 18 years olds. All right. They were coming in and spending money and, doing his game. He was doing really good in the kiosk. Right. And this is kids, just mall crawlers, mall rats, wandering by, playing at once and going, oh my God, let me go home and cash out a couple, bank trust notes, and come in here and spend all my money here because it's the coolest freaking thing we've ever seen. So he was doing really good there, but his business never really took off and grew. He made a mistake of moving into an actual storefront space, like tripling his rents for one, plus adding electricity overhead and everything else. And that salesperson had talked him into, oh, well, now you have more square footage to generate secondary sales like candy and cookies and all that other good stuff here. So he got outside of scope. But to make up for that, he decided to run radio ads. And what he did is he bought ad space, called up a radio company, talked to the radio salesperson. The radio salesperson talked about how many exposures he would have, how many people listen, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Probably never mentioned a magic word called demographics. Right. So this gentleman went and spent all of his advertising campaign when his customer base was 15 to 18-year-old pimply-faced geeks, and he spent it on light contemporary FM radio. The cool, soothed jazz sounds. And that's where his entire advertising budget went. Within 6 months, he was folded. Right. He increased his expenditures, increased his monthly costs. All right, did not advertise to his customer base. He advertised in a field that he was familiar with, contemporary adult FM radio. So he would have been better off going to Rock 103, all right, getting on the Dr. Demento show from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, midnight on Sundays, cheap ad time. Oh my freaking God, if he had dropped in a tenth of what he spent on light contemporary FM, on that little slot, he would have nailed it. Right? You're talking computer geeks, guys. Computer geeks are listening to Dr. Demento, all right, on Rock 103 FM at 10 o'clock at night, and probably recording a little tape cassette like I used to. I think I still have some of those around here somewhere. Home, not here, but still. So when you as a real estate agent are looking at spending your advertising dollars and you are trying to figure out where am I going to spend this money at, don't spend it to where you think it needs to be spent. You need to burrow down and find exactly what you're going to do and where you're going to put it at. You don't necessarily want to spend advertising dollars in a neighborhood, right, with 35 to 55-year-olds, homeowners, and hit them with a marketing message of downsizing and retirement. Does that make sense? All right. On the flip side, if you're trying to blanket a neighborhood and you're going first, you don't do a first-time homebuyer program blanket in a neighborhood of zip code where the majority of people there aren't first-time homebuyers. Those you want to go into the rental side. Find renter roles, renter lists, all right? So you need to discover what your demographics are and, and get those metrics and tailor make your campaign. This is not, I use the term, this is a sniper shot. This is not an artillery barrage, all right? You want to sit there and I want to flood that apartment complex. I know everybody in that apartment complex. The rents in that place are $1,800 for a studio apartment. I know they can buy a house. So I'm going to blow them out. That's what I mean, taking the shot. So anyways, like I said, that's been the reoccurring theme. What does this have to do with booms in the morning? Elon Musk tests things by breaking it, right? He's got billions, right? He can build a rocket ship just to launch it and see what happens. And then pick up the pieces and go, why did this blow up? Oh yeah, that little rivet there on the third engine outboard is made of a substandard material. We thought it would hold the stress, but it didn't. Let's replace that and try it again. All right. You as a real estate agent can't do that. All right. You as any kind of small business person cannot do that. If it's your money because you're a single practitioner, whatever it is you do, get yourself a professional marketer, all right, to help you out on that. I have a person I would recommend right now. She pays me money. I will recommend her on this, and she can, because it's marketing. You want me to advertise you? So, there's nothing in life is going to be ever free, except watching your kids and pets around water, not driving into flooded zones, all right? Working your circles and having a great day. I'll catch you guys later.